Hey guys, so today we're going to discuss Tails' good character arc. I am going to discuss first the two Sonic Adventure games, because that's where his good character development happened first. And then I'm going to go through the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, because that is what happened with his character next. Then I will discuss Sonic Frontiers, because that's what happened next after that movie. And then finally, I will discuss Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So, um, we're gonna actually go to this flashback where at first he was alone. He was picked on because he was bullied because of his tails, and that's why he didn't have any friends. But then he notices Sonic, and then he notices Knuckles coming after Sonic. So what he did was he left his planet to go through all these rings, go through all these dimension rings and try to go every planet and try to find Sonic just to warn him that Knuckles is coming after him and is going to attack him. And that's when he became Sonic's sidekick. But when you look at Tails, he's realizing that he's relying on Sonic all the time. He's being this sidekick all the time. He's always this shadow of Sonic all the time. He's always getting help from Sonic all the time. Well, aside from the gadgets and the airplanes that he does, but getting back to what I'm talking about, he's realizing that he needs to do this by himself one day. So, at first, what he did was he found this red emerald just to help him find Sonic. He then found Sonic, and they went to the egg carrier. But when they were at the egg carrier, they were lost. He lost Sonic. And then that's when Tails notices this rocket that was launched up in the sky, but it failed. So Eggman decided to crank up another one by doing it manually with his hands. So Tails decided his faith would to stop Eggman from launching the rocket from blowing up this station square. So, you want to know what he did first? When he was running to that place where Eggman was going to try to do this again, he realized he just stopped and he was yelling for Sonic, yelling his name, and then he was having all these. He was thinking about his past and he was like, I can't do this forever. I can't rely on Sonic forever. He's not always going to be there for me. I gotta do this by myself. I gotta learn how to step up and grow up. Okay, Eggman, here I come. So he actually goes there and actually stops Eggman and his robot from launching another rocket. And then everyone started to cheer for him. That Tails is at last Tails has finally done this by himself, and he's coming out of his shell. And the next time he's working for Sonic, he does it by himself. In the second game of Adventures, Sonic Adventure 2, he is in his airplane, and he's going to this island where Sonic is imprisoned, and he's trying to release Sonic from prison after he got framed by people thinking that he's Shadow, because Shadow and Sonic, they look alike. So he rescues him. But before he rescued him, he actually notices Amy, and he's trying to save Amy from Eggman, and Eggman fought with Tails, and when Tails, and then after with all that fight going on, he then defeated him again. He then defeated Eggman again, and then he rescued Sonic, and this shows his true character. He actually did this all by himself. So, and then the next time, we get to see about his character development. He like throughout this game, he's not letting his confidence like getting out of hand. He actually controls it. He is he he's calm. He is every time when something is bad going on, he doesn't whine. He doesn't whine like a kid. He doesn't get upset. He just tries to find a way. He always finds a way. So we get to Sonic and Tails, and they were at this I forgot what it was. They were next to Earth, and they realized that Sonic had a fake emerald, and Eggman traps him. He traps Sonic. But before Sonic goes down, and before everyone thought that he died, he then told Tails to do what he promised him to do. And then he was dropped down, and then everyone thought that he died. So then Tails, when you think of Tails throughout these games, you would think of him being like, "No, Sonic! No, what have you done? Why did you do this?" But no. In this game, he doesn't do that. He immediately steps up and fights with Eggman for the third time, avenging his death, and he defeats him. And then this was before he realized that he was alive, but he actually, do you see what I mean? He actually learns how to step up and actually does this by himself. And not getting scared like a kid. He's having this behavior as an adult. So, those are the games. All right. Next we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And we do not get to have his entire character arc, but we do get to have his a little flashback where he looks at Sonic. It's a flashback of Sonic the Hedgehog in the first movie. He looks at Sonic and he looks at his gadget and he's running really fast and and starts blowing up the United States, shutting off all the lights. And then he realizes that he's not alone anymore. He thought that he found a perfect friend after he was bullied. So he actually goes to Sonic in the second movie, and you want to know what he did first? Like what I said about the flashback. He stops Sonic by crashing in with his police car. He crashes Knuckles with the police car, and he tells him to get in, and they were driving away. Well, Knuckles was running after them still through the streets. So they had no choice. So Tails actually takes Sonic out of the police car, and he uses his tails to fly up and takes him to his house, or to a house, and they look at his I forgot her name, but they looked at a hologram of his adopted mother, Sonic's adopted mother, where she tells him about where to find the emeralds, and I think it's Echidna, whatever race of Knuckles, that it's the fight between his race and the Owl's race. So that's what she was basically telling Sonic what to do. And Tails is like, but it's dangerous. Knuckles is dangerous, and we'll be so lost, I'll be destroyed. But then Sonic tells him that he's right there with him. And this is actually, and although that the main thing is about him stepping up, he's supposed to do this by himself, we still got his original character by Sonic being there for him, helping him. So, Tails actually accepts this, and they actually grabbed hands, they were actually shaking hands, holding hands. This right here is true friendship right there. He finally has a perfect friend. He finally has a friend to be there with him and caring for him and not bullying him. So they go to Siberia, and in Siberia they disguise themselves. But when they started picking on Tails when they revealed the disguises. They start picking on him, calling him like his whiny behavior. Like, that's what they were saying that he's shy, and that's just mean. So I think they called him a freak as well. But then Sonic is actually there for him, and he's actually there to help him, because Sonic he actually had been through this before. When Tails told him about his flashback, Sonic actually he actually had the same thing as well. He actually, when he was abandoned, when he was left alone by his adopted mother, because his mother was getting killed and her race was getting attacked by Knuckles' race, he actually was alone on Earth, and he didn't have any friends. But then, he started becoming friends with humans, and the humans were actually dancing with him. He was actually having fun. He met Tom, and then eventually met Maddie. And that's the same thing he guided that to Tails. He guided that to Tails, and then they were actually dancing. They were actually having fun together, and they were just ignoring what they were saying, what the Russians were saying to Tails. They even they even slept together. Tails, when Sonic was giving, what I liked about was that this is what I found that was adorable. I found that Sonic was, when Tails was asleep, Sonic had given him a blanket because he was cold, because they were in Siberia. And then when Sonic was laying next to Tails was using actually his two tails as a blanket. And that's what I really liked about this movie. And but unfortunately, this is where we actually get less screen time of him. When they notice Eggman and Knuckles trying to find the Master Emerald, try to find all the emeralds, try to find that big green emerald. So, what happened was that Tails was trying to fight, but then he was knocked out by Tails' drone, whatever, and Sonic tried to wake him up. He wasn't dead. He was unconscious. So he took him to where, the wedding of Maddie and her friends and Tom. He was knocked out, but then he woke up and he tried to fly up, tried to save Sonic, but he was injured. He couldn't fly. But he eventually reunited with Sonic, and Knuckles had redeemed himself. So he became friends with Knuckles, and he fought alongside with them, to Eggman, and this is actually perfect right here. This is where Tails actually starts attacking the drones along with Sonic and Knuckles as a teamwork. And he even shows up inside the big robot of Eggman where he cloned himself, and he actually steps up right there, and it was one of those characters to defeat Eggman. And he takes Eggman down with his clones and himself. But what you want to know about is that he actually uses his gadgets to help him do something. I think it's his gadget to help him do something. And I could see, I can really see him, like, not fully completing his character arc, but about to be. He just has to believe himself. But he at least had a good backstory, even though we didn't get a backstory like Knuckles. But he had he still shared a little backstory about his home planet, and him being lonely, and Sonic being there for him, and he had to, and Tails getting his confidence because of that. Him actually trying to fight, doing it all by himself, trying to save Sonic and stop Eggman, and being part of the Sonic team. This is what the character arc is mostly accomplished right there in this film. And then we get to Sonic Frontiers. So in Sonic Frontiers, he mentions about that even though that he's brave, he still gets scared of opponents. And he wants to learn how to grow up. And he even tells this to Sonic as a hologram. But he was but he was you know that when Sonic was giving him advice, he was actually telling him by saying, "Wait a second. Didn't you stop Eggman from launching off that rocket and just to destroy the station square? Didn't you save me from prison? Didn't you save me from the Deadly Six's trap?" And then he just and then he just says that he's weak. I guess he denied it, but then yeah, he still denies this. He still just didn't trust his advice there. But then Sonic tells him that you could still be brave, even when you could still be there for me. I could still be there for you if you're scared. I will always be here for you. I will always be there for you. Even when you cannot, even when during the times that you can't do this by yourself. I still got your back. And I like what all this is going on with this character right there. And that's a good character development right there for Sonic Frontiers. But unfortunately, everyone was expecting him to have a full character arc in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I'm not going to Knuckles, okay? The series Knuckles. I heard that series was bad. And we didn't really get his character there. But in this movie, he was just there. He was just there, helping the team. And, okay, so it starts off in this movie where it was actually kind of a trick to Sonic that there were actually these two holograms of Tails and Knuckles racing with Sonic. And then it was actually just for a surprise of the anniversary of Sonic being on Earth. But then, while they were hanging out, Gun shows up, and they need help because Shadow had escaped. So at first they went to Tokyo, Japan. They noticed, they saw Shadow. They jumped out of a gun helicopter. Tails actually tries to track them down by driving the helicopter. I really like what this was going on right there. And then they met Shadow, and they got dunked down by Shadow. And then they went to the Chow restaurant. I don't know. It was like a Chow restaurant. And there was I'm trying to say it like we get this joke of Knuckles calling him Pikachu. He looks like a Pokemon. I thought that was cute right there. And Tails just gives him just a straight look. He's like, but then there was an invasion going on in the restaurant, and Commander Walters actually gets killed. But before he gets killed, he tells them about their two key chips or key cards. He gives them one of the key cards because because with those two key cards, that's what Eggman and later Gerald Robotnik and Shadow are looking for, just to crank up this drill thing I forgot, and that was gonna destroy the Earth, but instead it destroyed kind of half the moon, like quarter of the moon, I would say. So what they did is that they were trying to team up. They were trying to go after Shadow. And Tails Well, Tails actually tells Sonic, no, don't go after Shadow. He's dangerous, but he does it anyway. He doesn't trust. Sonic actually does this by himself and doesn't learn that he's supposed to do this by teamwork. So, Tails and Knuckles finds him handcuffed. And he actually handcuffed by himself because he knew it was dangerous. So, they wanted to know why does Shadow look like him? What's going on? What's his backstory? Why is Shadow doing this? And they're not going to trust Gun anymore because of what Gun did to Shadow. So they met up with Professor Stone. I think that's his name, Stone. They met Stone, and they took him to where Eggman is, and turns out he was actually still alive, but fat. So they try to stop Shadow. So Eggman had this idea. He had this idea of dressing up, getting ready to find, and I guess, yeah, it's where that island it was at, where they actually, in the games, where they blew it up, and while they were going there, they split up. Shadow had, scared them, had them tied up, and Gerald Robotnik met up with Eggman. And they were going to destroy them by blowing up the island. But they escaped. Luckily, they escaped. I liked what Tails and Sonic Team did. They tried to figure out how to get out of there. So they needed help from Tommy and Maddie, and they had to go to London to find the other keycard. And that's what I like what Tails did. He had this hologram map of where to find it and try to lure, and his plan was to try to lure Maddie and Tom in there by disguising themselves, just to get the key card. And that's what they did. They went to London. And while that plan was going on, that's exactly what he did. He did that plan. And he actually helped Sonic by flying up and try to throw him inside that, I forgot what it's called, a force field, inside of a force field. So Tails actually helps Sonic and others because they were getting trapped by this gravity that floats up and brings you down where that key card was at. But then Tom was attacked by Shadow, and Tails tries to stop Sonic and Knuckles from arguing, because Sonic wanted to do this by himself instead of doing teamwork, and he wants to know where the emerald is, just to stop Shadow and the two Robotniks. But then Knuckles finally tells him where it's at, and he uses the Master Emeralds, and he becomes super. He goes super. And while they were going super, try to stop that machine from destroying Earth, Tails goes and tries to convince Eggman to turn this off. So he did it. And while Sonic was getting weakened, teaming up with Shadow, becoming super to stop the machine, Sonic gets weakened, he goes down, and Tails tries to save him, but he couldn't bring him down. He also fell down as well. So Knuckles rescued both of them, and they landed, and they noticed that the machine was destroyed and blew up. And the Robotniks are dead, but Shadow is still around. So Sonic, I got confused. I did it too, okay? I'm sorry. So Sonic apologizes to his friends for doing this alone. He wanted to do this alone. He really thought that he could do this alone and didn't need teamwork. He thought that defeating them was... He thought that wanting to know what's going on, defeating Gerald... Well, at least defeating Gerald Robotnik by doing all this by himself, because he thought that this was who he was. But it turns out it wasn't. He just needed, the whole time he needed friends, and that's what happened. It's not just stepping up by yourself, it's friendship. And friendship defeated Gerald Robotnik. So, I'm disappointed that we didn't really get to see Tails coming out of his shell even more, doing this by himself. And doing this, and then planning on doing this in Sonic the Hedgehog 4, I'm like, oh, come on. So, I'm like, now you guys want to do this? Now you guys want to do this character arc after we could have had it in the previous film, Sonic the Hedgehog 3? But hey, at least we got most of that character development from Tails throughout these two movies. Or mostly, should I say, the second movie. So, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. And stay tuned for Knuckles. I will do Knuckles next. And I'm planning on to do Shadow. And then I'll see what characters I will do after Shadow. So, stay tuned for all of that and the rest of the characters after Shadow and Knuckles. And bye!